5 years have gone by, and you wake up today with no surprise. It's just another day where you have developed another sinus infection. I was miserable. I had stuffed up sinuses, a runny nose, and a pounding headache. The only reason I knew of that I could get rid of this would be to call up my doctor and get another antibiotic. My body had become resistant to the antibiotics that I had already given, so we had to go deeper and find more antibiotics that would eliminate this problem. My body also had a lower immune system because it relied on the antibiotics to help me every single time that I developed an infection, which allowed me to develop more infections over in time. Every morning I was taking vitamin C and a probiotic to help me eliminate the bacteria in my body and build up my immune system. 90% of processed foods and dairy was eliminated from my body. Can you imagine how many processed foods are out there today? It's almost impossible to eat food that have no processing in it, and dairy too. I was also allergy tested. It came back negative. I was blood tested to see if I was low on any components which I could build up to build up my immune system. However, the results came back that I was low, but not low enough that it should be causing any of these problems. So what could I do to get out of my misery? I called a local ENT's office to set up an appointment. At my appointment, we discussed options, and we came down to the conclusion that surgery would be the most successful thing for me to do that would last a long period of time and not allow me to have more chronic sinus infections and more horrendous migraines. Trusting in the fact that this would help me, I went ahead and set up an appointment for several months later. Until this appointment, however, I battled horrendous migraines and more chronic sinus infections. It was horrible, but I knew that in a few months, this would all be worth it. Until these few months later came, I had to have more processed foods eliminated and more aged and dairy foods eliminated from my diet. That meant that Milky Way that you were craving, you wouldn't be able to have because you would probably most likely get a migraine, or it would help you to develop another sinus infection. Even caffeine, which I drink a lot of. Being an avid coffee drinker, this was hard, but I had to eliminate this from my diet because I knew that it was going to cause me to have horrendous migraines and would just add on to my chronic migraines and sinus infections. That means that coffee that you have every morning, you weren't allowed to have. Sinus surgery is a very common surgery. However, it is not done until all of the treatments have been exhausted. Therefore, I made sure that I was allergy tested. I had to give the results to my local ENT and show them that everything came back negative. I had to have blood tests done several times to show them that every time it came back low but wasn't low enough to be the cause of all of my problems. I had changed my diet to see if maybe my diet was causing my problems. But as I said, I just continue to battle horrendous migraines and chronic infections. To eliminate all these infections, I went ahead and had the surgery. The surgery was supposed to eliminate chronic infections, eliminate your impaired sense of smell, which many people with chronic sinus infections do have, clear obstruction, such as a deviated septum, which is where your nose is more toward one side, the middle is more toward one side than the other, causing you to have a smaller airway on one side, backing everything up in your sinuses and not allowing it to flow through. Many years ago, the surgery used to be painful and long. It was invasive and left scars on your face. Who would want that? However, after many innovations, a tiny lit-up telescope guides a surgeon through the nasal passageways and through the mouth to treat your sinus problems. It is an outpatient surgery, which means you will not be staying overnight. Also, there used to be tons of packing done throughout the whole sinuses, and that would have to be taken out later at another doctor visit. However, there is now minimal packing done, and can be done at home. For example, when I got home after my surgery, several hours later, my dad removed the packing for me. It sounds kind of gross, but it's better than having to go back to another appointment and remove a lot more packing than needs to be up there. The surgery is responsible for reducing infections, clearing passageways, and eliminating inflammation and chronic migraines. It reduced the severity and the frequency of my migraines. I also was able to receive my smell back. This is just some of the side effects of having the surgery. However, think about it in other terms. You're going to be a lot less stressed if you don't have the thought of having another sinus infection again. Every day, in and out, you have another one. Another thing, you will have a lot more money this way. Less doctor visits, less gas spent on going to the doctor visits, less copays, less money spent on antibiotics. And let's face it, the best side effect of all of this is you will not be miserable. However, there are some other things that need to be thought of when going to take your surgery. Healing tissue will take time. There's no doubt about that. The tissue in your nostrils will be open, and this is a factor that will have to be cleared up. However, the timing of when you have your surgery is important. If you choose to have your surgery in the winter, you will be susceptible to more infections at that time because of viruses and the dryness surrounding you. It takes a long time for an immune system to develop, and many young adults and teenagers do not have a fully developed immune system. However, think about how long it could take for a fully developed immune system to take. It could take years. So, do you want to wait that long and waste more money spent on doctor's visits and antibiotics, or do you want to make one slightly larger payment on a surgery and not have to deal with any more miserably in pain? This sounds like a no-brainer. No pain, no soreness comes out of this surgery. It is done internally through the nose, but there's no external pain through the cheeks, right here, in sinuses. There's no internal pain through your nostrils or even in the sinuses following up here. Yes, I had my surgery done in the winter, which took more time for my sinuses to heal up. I did have few infections over that time period. However, if you think about those few infections, that's not anything into the factor when I have been now clear for 8 months with no sinus infections. Yes, I still have battled many migraines throughout this time, but that many is probably considered a lot to people who don't have migraines. That many is not considered anything to me. I have had probably once, maybe every 2 weeks, a migraine, and they have been reduced in the severity also, which is extremely important. This may not seem like an accomplishment to most people, but to a person such as me, who has battled 26 sinus infections in 5 years, this is a huge accomplishment. 26 sinus infections is a lot. That is more like saying day in and day out you're waking up with a sinus infection. That's why I stated in the beginning, you wake up with no surprise. It's just another sinus infection. Smelling is another thing that I was able to receive back. When I came home several days after my surgery, I was able to smell that lovely pot roast in the crock pot. And then even a little while after that, Grandma had baked me some bread for my birthday, and I was able to smell that delicious smell in the kitchen. Missing out on something like this for 5 years was awful. Yes, there are some things that you don't want to be able to smell. However, there are some things that you really wish you were able to smell during that time frame. I also still eat healthy, but I'm now able to have more processed foods in my diet, meaning that Milky Way that I was craving, I can now have whenever I feel like it. Of course, I'm not going to eat 20 of them at once and just eat candy all the time. I'm still going to remain having a fairly healthy diet, but it's going to be a lot less precise on what I'm eating. Caffeine, again. Now I'm drinking more caffeine than I had prior to and during the time of healing my surgery, and I'm having no migraines caused by that. Yes, I have some off and on, but the frequency and the severity have been completely eliminated in this factor. Therefore, I also don't have to worry about taking vitamin C and probiotics every day because I don't have bacteria throughout my entire body. I can tell you from a first-hand experience that sinus surgery is definitely an answer to all of your problems. If you feel like you have exhausted all of the ways that you could eliminate your sinus issues, Call a local ENT's office and set up an appointment to have a physical examination and discuss options to see if sinus surgery would be a good answer for you and your sinus problems.